The rules of money are what you think. Robert Kiyosaki shows how breaking free from the system starts with one shift in mindset. Stick around, and you'll learn the lessons they don't want you to know. They don't want us to know, he says, and suddenly it clicks. The schools, the systems, the very structure we trust to guide us, none of it is designed to empower us financially. It's designed to keep us in line. Think about it. What did school ever teach you about money? How to earn it? Save it? Invest it? The answer, for most of us, is absolutely nothing. And that's no accident. It's not an oversight or a simple gap in the curriculum. It's deliberate. The rich have a different playbook. A playbook they don't want everyone to know. As Kiyosaki puts it, the way to keep the poor and middle class working hard is to never teach them what the rich know. If you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you've already started flipping through that secret playbook. It's not about just working harder or climbing some imaginary ladder. It's about learning the rules of the game, the real game, the one the rich play. Kiyosaki learned this from his rich dad, who taught him that the key to breaking free is understanding money in a way the system doesn't understand. And honestly, it stings, doesn't it? Knowing that the institutions we've trusted, from schools to banks to politics, aren't designed for our success. Kiyosaki isn't shy about calling it out. The corruption isn't just in the banking. It's in the very schools where we send our children, trusting they'll learn everything they need to thrive. But the truth? They're being taught to stay in line, to accept the status quo, to never question why they weren't told the things they were. But here's the thing, you know something now. You know that financial education doesn't come from the traditional paths. You know the importance of breaking free from the cycle of ignorance. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to start sharing that knowledge. Because, as Kiyosaki says, if you know something, share it. What's the point of holding on to it if it could change someone else's life? This isn't about pointing fingers or holding grudges against the system. It's about waking up. It's about refusing to be a pawn in a game where the rules are hidden. The power lies in learning, in teaching, and in breaking the cycle, one lesson at a time. You have that choice. Are you ready to make it? Financial education isn't what most of us were taught to do. It's not about getting a job, working hard, saving money, and investing in a so-called safe portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Robert Kiyosaki challenges this mindset head-on, exposing the system for what it truly is, a game built on debt and taxes. Think back to 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. That moment turned the US dollar into debt. Yet, we still tell kids to work hard, save money, and get out of debt. But who perpetuates this message? It's one of the most nonsensical pieces of advice out there. Saving money won't make you rich. Why? Because they can print money faster than you can ever earn or save. It's a losing game, and the rules are stacked against you. Kiyosaki says it plainly. The rich don't work for money. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But think about it. If you're constantly working for money, you're falling right into the trap. Schools subtly train us to become worker bees for life. They don't explicitly say it, but the education system molds us into employees, not entrepreneurs or investors. The difference between the rich and the poor often starts with understanding assets and liabilities. Most people think their home is an asset. In reality, it's a liability because it takes money out of their pockets. Kiyosaki breaks it down simply. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket, while a liability takes money out. It's not just about owning a house or a car. It's about cash flow, money coming in versus money going out. For example, Kiyosaki owns thousands of rental properties. Every month, cash flows into his pocket, making those properties true assets. Compare that to someone with a big house on a hill, paying a hefty mortgage. That's a liability, plain and simple. Here's another critical point. The number one expense for most people is taxes. Yet, how often do we truly see or think about it? You glance at your paycheck, and it just doesn't add up. That's because the government has already taken a large chunk before you even get to it. And most of us don't do anything to minimize those taxes, because we were never taught how. This is where the rich and the poor differ again. The rich understand the different types of income: earned, portfolio, and passive. Earned income is what you get from a job, your paycheck. It's taxed the most heavily. Portfolio income, such as capital gains from investments, is taxed less. Then there's passive income, cash flow from assets like rental properties or businesses. That's often not taxed at all. This is why many wealthy people legally pay little to no taxes. It's not about evading taxes. It's about knowing the rules of the game. Think about Monopoly for a moment. Kiyosaki learned many of his lessons from playing that iconic game. Remember the strategy: for greenhouses, then one red hotel. It's a simple yet powerful way to build wealth. Ray Kroc, the man behind McDonald's, understood this too. McDonald's isn't just a fast food empire. It's one of the biggest real estate companies in the world. Kroc used the cash flow from selling burgers to acquire prime real estate, creating long-term wealth. When Kiyosaki started learning these lessons, it wasn't easy. He worked for his rich dad for free. Why? Because as his rich dad explained, if I pay you, you'll start thinking like an employee. Your brain will shut off. That's a powerful statement. The moment you rely on a paycheck, you stop thinking creatively. You stop looking for opportunities to build wealth outside the traditional system. Most people are stuck in the rat race, chasing job security and pensions. But job security is just another paycheck in disguise. It keeps you tied to the system, unable to break free. Kiyosaki compares it to the old saying: give a man a fish, and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime. Most people are never taught to fish. They're given just enough to get by, ensuring they remain dependent on the system. Understanding the tax system is another game changer. Many people don't realize how much of their income disappears into taxes. The rich, however, know how to minimize taxes legally. They use corporations, investments, and other strategies to reduce their tax burden. Meanwhile, the average person works harder, only to see more of their income taken away. Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of finding great teachers, people who truly know what they're talking about. In schools, you don't always know if your teacher has real-world experience. Many are fake teachers, teaching theories without practical knowledge. A real teacher comes from the inside. They've lived it, experienced it, and can show you the ropes. Financial education is about more than just making money. It's about understanding how money works. It's about questioning the conventional advice to get a good job and save for retirement. Kiyosaki's lessons teach us to think differently, to see through the illusions created by the system. For example, many people blame the rich for not paying enough taxes. But Kiyosaki argues that most people don't even know the basics of income types or tax strategies. The rich don't have jobs in the traditional sense. They have assets that generate income. And because of that, they play by an entirely different set of rules. Kiyosaki's rich dad taught him early on. The game is rigged, but you don't have to lose. By understanding assets, liabilities, and cash flow, you can step off the hamster wheel. It's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about building passive income streams that free you from the constant grind. The lessons are simple, but profound. Stop working for money and start making money work for you. Learn the rules of the game so you can play it to win. Don't rely on a paycheck or a pension. Rely on your ability to create and manage assets. And most importantly, never stop learning. Because the moment you stop, the system wins. Did you know McDonald's isn't really in the business of selling hamburgers? Sure, that's what they're famous for, but their real game is real estate. They sell burgers, but they buy prime real estate and hold on to it. And guess what? They pay no taxes on that strategy. It's the same principle used by people like Jeff Bezos. He made $16 billion in 1 year. And how much tax did he pay? Close to nothing. And it's all perfectly legal. This might sound unfair, but here's the thing. Anyone can do it. The only reason most people don't is because they lack the financial education to play by their rules. Once you learn how to use debt as money, you'll never say, I can't afford it. Why? Because the banks will lend you the money if you know how to use it wisely. Let me give you an example. After the 2008 financial crash, the banks gave me $300 million. That's $300 million tax-free. Why? Because I understand how to leverage debt as money. Meanwhile, the average person struggles to get a loan because their credit scores, like FICO scores, are too low. Schools don't teach this. In fact, most school teachers don't know what this says. My poor dad didn't know it either. And it's why he never understood the real difference between an asset and a liability. So, let's make it simple. You don't know if something is an asset or a liability until you see which way the cash flows. If money is leaving your pocket, it's a liability. If money is coming into your pocket, it's an asset. Take a house, for example. If your house is costing you money every month, it's a liability. But if it's generating income, like through rentals, it becomes an asset. The US government actually encourages people like me to provide housing, create jobs, and borrow money. Why? Because that's how money is created through debt. And as a reward, I get massive tax breaks. Everyone could do the same thing if they had the financial education to make it happen. This isn't some secret only available to the wealthy. The tools and opportunities are there for anyone willing to learn. The rules of the game don't change, but you have to change how you play it. Financial education is the key that opens the door to a completely different way of thinking about money, debt, and opportunity. If people truly understood the tax code, we'd all be more prosperous. But the reality is, poverty isn't just about lack of resources. It's a mindset, a way of thinking that can be passed down like a family heirloom. It's the words we say, the attitudes we carry, and the beliefs we hold about what's possible. That's where the cycle starts, and that's also where it can stop. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is this. Never say, I can't afford it. Instead, ask, how can I afford it? That small shift in perspective changes everything. When people ask me how I've built wealth, my answer is simple. I've trained myself to replace I can't with how can I. It opens doors to creativity, opportunity, and problem solving. Sure, I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, but that's how I've learned. Mistakes are the building blocks of success, not barriers. Growing up, my poor dad often said things like, I can't afford it, or do you think money grows on trees? He was a school teacher, and that mindset of limitation stuck with him. It wasn't just about his finances. It was about the way he approached life. On the other hand, my rich dad never uttered those words. He taught me to think differently, to see challenges as opportunities. When I meet people who constantly say, I can't, I see the cycle repeating itself. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to. Changing that dialogue in your head, starting today, can completely transform your life. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, ask yourself, how can I afford it? That single question shifts your mindset from limitation to possibility. It forces you to think about investments and the future rather than the immediate hurdles. When I borrowed $300 million, I didn't start by having all the answers. I faced rejection after rejection, but every no taught me something. I'd ask, why did you turn me down? What do I need to fix? Then I'd work on my financials, adjust the numbers, and try again. Rejection isn't failure, it's feedback. It's the same lesson I learned in other areas of life. Even when my wife rejected me for 6 months before we started dating, I didn't give up. I saw it as part of the process. If someone else can do it, so can I. That's the power of persistence and willpower. It's not about having everything figured out from the start. It's about asking, how can I? And taking the next step, no matter how small. The words we use matter more than we realize. They shape our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately our reality. As the saying goes, words become flesh. When you stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You activate a whole new level of intelligence and creativity. Your mistakes become your greatest teachers, each one revealing a lesson you need to learn. Intelligence doesn't come from avoiding failure. It grows through the ups and downs, through the risks you take and the lessons you learn. Real estate taught me this in a profound way. It wasn't the money that made me richer. It was the knowledge I gained from my experiences. The truth is, you don't need money to make money. What you need is the willingness to try, to fail, and to learn from your failures. Every human being hits low points in life. The difference between those who rise and those who don't is whether they get the message. If you understand the lesson, a new life begins. If not, you'll find yourself stuck, going further down the same path. The richer I became, the more I realized that money itself wasn't the key. It was my mindset. I could leverage what I knew to create wealth, even without starting capital. But getting to that point wasn't about being fearless. It was about confronting fear head on. So many people are trapped by their fear of making mistakes or fail. That fear keeps them in the same cycle, repeating the same patterns and wondering why nothing changes. The truth is, failure isn't the end. It's just a step in the process. Every mistake you make, every rejection you face, is teaching you something essential. Instead of avoiding mistakes, lean into them. Ask yourself, what can I learn? How can I improve? That shift in perspective is where growth happens. The lessons we've explored from Robert Kiyosaki are more than just financial advice. They're a call to rethink the way you approach life itself. It's not about settling for "I can't" or being stuck in the cycles you've been taught to follow. It's about replacing limitation with possibility, rejection with resilience, and fear with action. These are the principles that can shift your mindset and open doors you never thought possible. Think about the conversations you've had with yourself, the doubts, the excuses, the what-ifs. Now imagine what could change if you started asking, how can I? Instead of saying, I can't. This is the same mindset that Kiyosaki's rich dad instilled in him. The mindset that led to freedom, success, and endless opportunities. Every moment is a chance to take control of your story. If you felt inspired today, don't let that energy go to waste. Make the decision to act, to learn, and to grow. And if you want more of these insights, if you want to stay connected to ideas that challenge, inspire, and empower you, subscribe to this channel. It's more than just a subscription. It's a step toward the life you've always imagined. Let's rewrite your story together, one lesson at a time.